Hey, 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 everybody. We're the Serious Film Critics, and we're back. My name is Sam.
And I'm David.
All right, guys, we got a good little episode. Oop, let me just clear this stupid antivirus ad here. There, that's gone. We got a good episode today, guys. It's episode 26, so we're over the quarter century mark. Go us. And we're going to be reviewing Ready Player One today, as well as giving a top 5 most anticipated movies for the rest of 2018. So it's gonna be a pretty good episode here. I think there's a lot to get into. So how's it going, Dave, down there in Maryland?
Pretty good. It's been a while since we did our last episode, so I know everybody's itching to hear what we think about this movie because
oh yeah, it's a biggie. So it's gonna be an interesting talk there. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Just opened another show at the theater, and I just joined the beard life, man. I got a beard now. I know we haven't seen each other in a little bit. Yeah, I had to grow it for this role. I play this kind of douchey, sort of like a cowboy type character, and I have this beard going on. I've never grown one before, so it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely a new experience. It changes you as a person.
It does. I feel like a different man, but yeah, it never appealed to me, and I always would get to a period where it was more than a 5 o'clock shadow, but less than a beard. But it started to get like itchy, and I hated that feeling. So I would always shave. So with this, I just kind of toughed it out, and it feels like now that I've gotten past that annoying part, it's pretty nice. I kind of like it.
Yeah, if you get past like the initial itchiness, then it'll stop itching. But then once it gets long enough, it'll start to itch again, and then it doesn't go away.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see how mouth, and you're just like, why do I have this?
Yeah, I'm not there yet. I mean, I'm still at the point where it's definitely a lot more than 5. Like, it's definitely a beard, but it's not like a bushy beard by any means. It's kind of just like the extreme 5 o'clock shadow phase. So we'll see how it goes when I get a little deeper into the rabbit hole here.
Yeah, how long you can go.
It's not too bad so far. Yeah, I don't know, man. Nothing else going on. You've been watching anything good lately?
I've actually been watching a lot of stuff on Netflix. There's one show. I'm really curious what you're going to think about the fact that I've been watching this. I already stopped, but
what's that?
I was watching Grey's Anatomy for a little while.
Grey's Anatomy? Well, how was it, man?
I gotta say, like, first of all, what I think is so funny about this show is, like, I guess they finally calmed down because they just fired everybody. This show has had so much like behind the scenes drama happen. And I think it's so funny because it's like most of the cast, I think, is just like they're nobodies in comparison to most of television, but they have caused so many problems. I actually think it's a lot better than I expected, but it's still not great. And I already think I got to like season 3, and I think it already starts kind of falling off a cliff around season 4. But it's a lot better than I expected. I think the acting is really good. And the characters, like, big thing that they do is like all the characters, like, I think most of them you could just hate because they're bad people, but they're also pretty believable in that respect.
Well, that's good that they're believable. I mean, I admit I've seen maybe like 1 or 2 episodes before, so I can't really judge. I'm just always, and especially a lot of people at my theater watch the show, so I'm always just laughing at them. But I guess,
it's a phenomenon.
Yeah, I might have to check it out. And I always remember. Do you remember that episode of Supernatural where they make fun of, like, it's that one I don't know if you remember it. I know it's been a while since you watched it, but it's an episode where that trickster guy like brings them into the TV worlds, and Grey's Anatomy's one of them, and like everybody's like McSexy and like it's a pretty.
I know I've seen that episode, but I can't remember anything about it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good episode, and even the music that was playing just totally seemed like it was fitting. But I'll have to watch it someday. Is all of it on Netflix?
I think they have like 13 or 14 seasons on Netflix. They also do a good job. It's like the characters do develop really well over time. Like, they go from like interns to like actual real doctors, and then they bring in new interns for them, which I think is cool that they actually grow over time.
Oh, really? They're actually like interns at the start of the show?
Yeah,
I thought they were all like just doctors the whole time.
No, the beginning of the show, they're like interns that don't know literally anything. And by the end, I guess they're like, kind of like the people on top. And then they have like they fired almost everybody, but the main character's still there. And then there's a few others.
Yeah, I just remember the only episode I remember seeing is, I think it's a more recent one, is when that main guy, what's his name?
Patrick Dempsey?
Yeah, he died or something. And
yeah.
Yeah, or well, spoiler alert for everybody. I feel like everybody knows that.
Was a few years ago, I think, so.
Okay, yeah, that's the last episode I saw, as he died or whatever, and it was a tugging on the heartstrings. But yeah, all right, maybe I'll have to check out some Grey's Anatomy. I mean, hey, if it's got your seal of approval, that that definitely says something.
I'm not sure it has my seal of approval. I think it has some merits.
It has some merits. Okay, fair enough. I haven't been watching too much. Let me bring up my old letterbox here. Do you have anything else off the top of your head that you?
I've been watching a little CSI Miami, which
Oh man,
I mean,
David
it's CSI, so there's not much that can be said. Actually, I think that show is a little better than like it gets made fun of a lot, but I don't think it's a terrible show. I mean, obviously it's stupid, but
Well, I mean, I know it was really popular there for a while. I mean,
it was huge. It kind of like fell off a cliff in popularity, which I think is interesting.
Is it still on?
No, it ended a while ago. The last one was CSI Cyber. That ended like 3 years ago, so there's no more CSI anymore.
CSI Cyber just doesn't have a good ring to it. That doesn't sound like a show that's going to be around for a long time.
I don't think that one lasted long.
No, I don't think so. All right, I didn't watch anything too interesting recently. I saw Creed again, which I freaking love it. I mean, we don't even need to get into it. I saw Kung Fu Panda for the first time, which I actually liked a lot. It was pretty good. I don't have too much to say about it. It was just kind of fun. I did see A Quiet Place last night, that new John Krasinski movie.
Yeah, I know the night critics before last. Wild.
I think it's a bit overhyped. It's not as good as you're hearing it is, at least in my opinion, but it is really good. I mean, it's not super original. I mean, it kind of steals from a lot of different things or borrows from them. I mean, steals is a little harsh, but the monsters in it are cool, which I think is always important in a movie like that. They do kind of remind me of, I know you don't really watch Stranger Things, but the first season, the monster kind of reminds me of the Demogorgon creature in that. So that was a little annoying, but it's different enough in the way it hears people, because the idea is that they're living in this dystopian society where they're these blind creatures that hunt by sound, and the way they hear is kind of interesting, and the attention to detail on how John Krasinski and his family kind of live their day-to-day life is really interesting. And there's definitely some really anxiety-ridden moments. Like, some of the individual scenes are executed really well. I mean, there's a scene where one of the characters is going through a serious medical issue while this creature is kind of stalking her, and it's pretty amazing. So overall, I would say it's definitely good. It's worth a watch. I'm super glad to see Krasinski doing something that's halfway decent.
Yeah, I don't think he's directed like anything good before this.
No, though I don't. The only other thing I can think of that he's directed is this Brief Interviews with Hideous Men, which I actually liked, but it was a really, really small indie movie, and this one is much bigger. And I thought it definitely had some interesting moments. The only thing I wonder is, like, there are these creatures that are invading Earth, but in these kind of movies, you always have to suspend your disbelief, but I'm just like, why the heck is the U.S. military, or militaries in general, not just wrecking these creatures?
Yeah, I know, right? Like, they're not freaking raining because they're not like,
it doesn't seem like they're super intelligent, or they can't, or they have kind of basic means of communicating. And man, like, tanks and stuff and attack choppers would just be mowing these things down by the millions.
Yeah, I know.
But with these kind of movies, you always have to sort of suspend your disbelief with that. But it's a movie you could poke a million holes in, but I actually had a really good time with it. So I definitely recommend it. Still probably a little overhyped compared to what you're hearing about it. Like, I think it has like a 99 or something on Rotten Tomatoes, which is crazy, but I don't know. You can't always go off Rotten Tomatoes.
I think that the standards for horror films are way lower than almost anything else. Like, if you make a remotely good horror film, you usually can get a positive rating just because people don't expect anything from you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not a particularly original movie, but it does what it does. It's just a good genre movie. Like, it does well what it sets out to do, and for that I have to give it respect. But it's definitely not anything revolutionary or unbelievable. I mean, it's just like a good little movie. So it's definitely worth a watch. That's about it for me, man. I watched The Lost Boys last night. I had never seen that. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I actually need to see that. I know it's an 80s classic.
Yeah, I've never seen it, and it's on Netflix right now, so check it out. It's pretty good. It's got a definite interesting 80s vibe, and the score is amazing. Like, the soundtrack and the score is amazing, and there's definitely some cool moments. It's just kind of uneven. Like, the plot is really meandering and random, but It's got like all those 80s people that are in rough shape now, like Corey Feldman and
Oh yeah,
Corey
isn't that both
Haim.
Corey's in it?
Yeah, it's got both the Coreys in it, so that's kind of interesting to see them together. And who else is in? The Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer Sutherland's in there. I can't believe Kiefer Sutherland is like. I looked him up. He was like 20 in this movie. He looks like he's at least like 30. I couldn't believe he. Like I watched that and I was like, "Are you serious? I'm 6 years older than Kiefer Sutherland was in this movie. That's crazy." Or 7 years, like, because he does not look 18 or whatever, but apparently he was 20. So it's crazy. People just looked older back then. That's about all I got, man. You got anything else?
No, I haven't been watching much, so it mostly just was watching too much Grey's Anatomy. Let's just leave it at that.
You're hooked.
Yeah, man. There's a lot I could say about that show, but we'll get to it another time. I think I'm already done with it. So
yeah, we'll get into it later. Maybe I'll start watching it because I need a show to watch. So, all right, let's get into this this main event here. We've got Ready Player One, directed by Steven Spielberg, written by Ernest Cline, who I guess did the book.
Also, Zach Penn.
Oh yeah, Zach.
He
Penn,
wrote
too.
Last Action Hero.
Did he really?
Yeah, that was like his first movie,
man.
I think. Well, a lot of people wrote Last Action Hero, but he was one of the writers.
Okay, well that's definitely I love Last Action Hero. So, all right, let's get into it, Dave. You want to go over it?
All right, so yeah, Ready Player One stars Ty Sheridan, Mark Rylance, some other people. Oh, Ben Mendelsohn. It's got a decent cast. Yeah, so basically it's based on the book, and it's set in 2045, and basically the world is just like a dystopian hellhole, and people will escape from this by going to play this game called Oasis, which is like virtual reality, where you go in there and it's like super amazing and way better than anything in real life. So of course people just spend all their time in there.
Yeah.
So the main character's name is Wade Watts, and he lives in what is it, Columbus or something?
Columbus, I think.
Yeah, basically it's called the Stacks, and it's like they literally have like trailers stacked on top of each other, like a slum world. So yeah, it opens with he's explaining that the creator, played by Mark Rylance, whose name is what is the creator's name?
Was that Mark Rylance?
Yeah, that was Mark Rylance.
What's his name? The
Halliday.
Holiday.
Yeah,
Man, I did not know
James
that was
Halliday. Yeah.
Okay, man, I did not know that was Mark Rylance.
Yeah, he looked different.
He did.
So he created the Oasis with another guy played by Simon Pegg.
He kind of looked like Weird Al a little bit.
Yeah, he sounded different too. He had a weird voice.
Yeah, he did.
Anyway, so he created it with this guy, I think it was Ogden Morrow, played by Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
And basically when he died, he left he basically said, anybody that can find my Easter egg will take control of the Oasis, which is probably the most valuable thing on Earth now. And in order to do it, you have to find 3 keys. And that was 5 years before the start of this movie. And so far, people figured out that the first key is you have to finish this race, but nobody's been able to finish it yet. So it starts.
So they'd been doing it for 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years they've been, and this is a major plot hole. I'm pretty sure somebody would have figured that race out within 5 years. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think I missed that was 5 years.
Yeah, it had been 5 years, and they couldn't figure out to drive backwards in a stupid race.
And then it's like his suit. I mean, because I was under the impression they did that race almost every day. So I mean, at some point, I feel like I would just be like, all right, I'm just gonna screw around here. This is the
I know, right?
100,000th time I've done this race. So let me just.
I think at some point somebody would have finished the race without cheating. I think somebody would have just figured out how to jump over King Kong's hand.
Yeah, I
honestly think somebody could have done that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because I mean, they implied nobody had even made it that far in like 5 years. And I mean, come on.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like what's the main guy's name again? Z or Wade Watt?
Yeah, Parzival is his.
Parzival. He and the girl Artemis made it to the end. It kind of seemed like that was like, oh my gosh, they're gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean that had been the first time anybody had done it. So yeah, like this, it seems like that nobody in 5 years of trying had even made it to the end of this race, let alone, you know. One thing that bothered me too is like, I'm surprised nobody like was able to just finish or try the race on them by themselves, because like, and we shouldn't get too far off topic, they didn't explain the rules of the Oasis very well, so it made a lot of the scenes like kind of confusing for me, because I didn't know if there were like safe areas or what.
Yeah, it was confusing for me as well.
Anyway, so he and so during the race we see Parzival, his friend. What's his friend's name? The guy with the giant.
The orc guy or whatever.
That's
Was it H?
Yeah, H. He has a friend H, and then during the race he sees a girl named Artemis, who is apparently famous, and she's riding the bike from Akira, which I thought was going to be a big deal, but really isn't. And they both make it to the end, and he stops her and is like, "You can't make it over this." So then we see that like the way it works is like they're called Gunters, egg hunters, and they can go into Halliday's memories. He has like this thing called the archives or whatever, where like there's a guy, like a little butler dude, that will show you around, and you can like go anything. He recorded almost everything he did.
Was that Butler a reference to something? Like, I feel like I'd seen him before, but I didn't get the reference. Or is it a reference?
It probably was a reference to something. It was called the Curator. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I'd seen that character before, but I didn't know if it was from something or I don't know.
I would say there's a
curious.
good possibility.
Yeah.
So he goes into the archives and has like everything he could record in his life he did. I mean, they have like his memories, movies he watched, everything he did basically. And people will go through here and spend hours just looking through his memories, trying to come up with the most ridiculous connections to discover where these Easter eggs are. And the way they jump to some of these conclusions is absolutely ridiculous. Because like he goes through and he watches a memory where this was so stupid. Halliday's like, can't we just go backwards for once? And then he's like, oh, of course you go backwards in the race. Like, yeah, okay. Like you would draw that conclusion from that. No, never.
Yep. Yeah.
Anyway, so he does figure out that in order to win the race, you drive backwards and then you just go underneath of it and then you finish. Oh, and I think before this, Artemis and Parzival meet, and then they talk about the fact that they're Gunters, and he takes her to H's workshop where he fixes stuff, and he fixes her bike for her, which I don't know why you have to fix the stuff and you can't just like digitally do it.
Yeah, I have no idea why that can't, or just upload a new one or something.
Yeah, and now, well, he said it's a skin for her bike, but I don't understand why you wouldn't just like pay to digitally repair it. Like he has to physically fix it. And not only that, but he's like building stuff, and I don't understand how that would be okay. They didn't explain the rules of the Oasis at all.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much to get into, and let's just get through the I guess synopsis, and then we'll dive into some of this stuff because there's just so much to get into.
Yeah, so he fixes her bike, and then he finishes the race, and basically, like, there's a leaderboard that shows, because of whoever, this is another thing I don't understand, like, you have to have all 3 keys to win, right?
Yeah.
So what happens if somebody has 2 keys and you get the last key? You have to go kill the other guy, or what?
Well, I think you have to get the other 2 keys before you get the last key.
Oh, so I guess that the IOA guys never figured out how to get the first 2 keys.
Yeah, or like some of them, I think they did eventually, because it's like one, but I think...
Okay, so I guess it was not clear that they were keeping the secret how they were getting these keys.
Yeah, or I think they mentioned something like at first, like it was a secret, but then people started figuring it out, like their friends did.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not sure.
So, oh yeah, where were we at? We were talking about he gets the first key. There's a leaderboard showing how close everybody is to winning the contest, and he finally goes up there, and he gets all this in-game money too. So then the next scene, he's shopping at the in-game shop. He buys a holy hand grenade and a Zemeckis cube.
Yeah,
a lot of good foreshadowing in this scene.
Yeah.
And
I will say that I actually like that he used both those items later in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, everything in that scene was used, including the apocalypse bomb thing.
Yeah.
So then we find out, then skipping back, there's an organization called IOI, which is run by Ben Mendelsohn's character, who is named Nolan Sorrento. And it's literally like this major corporation that hires all these people or forces them to play the game. And like they all play like idiots, basically. And all they do is spend all day trying to figure out how to get the keys, because he thinks that if they win the contest and take control of Oasis, they'll make all this money, and they're gonna like make all these changes to it. But like they have like these hordes of drones that are just utterly worthless in the game.
Yeah.
So then after that, IOI hires. This is when they hire this guy named IROC, played by.
It's they hire Rick from Rick and Morty.
It was T.J. Miller.
Wait, that's not the Rick voice from Rick and Morty. That guy?
No, that was T.J. Miller. I don't know if he played.
What?
Yeah.
That guy, like with the skull in his midsection.
Yeah. The guy that they hired to hunt him.
That I thought for sure. I would have bet money that was the voice actor for Rick from Rick and Morty.
No, I thought that. No, it's definitely T.J. Miller. It's on the.
Man, I thought that's who that was for sure. Okay, well that's interesting.
Yeah, and there's a pretty good gag with the steampunk pirate king that he.
Didn't it sound like him? They're like, hey, I'm the.
I don't know. I recognized it was T.J. Miller pretty quick, to be honest.
Guess it was just me then.
Yeah. So they hire him, and he just killed the steampunk pirate king to take this orb of protection that's like a level 999 relic, which makes you can shield an entire planet and make it invincible. And he basically tells him he wants to find this guy Parzival and get the key from him or whatever. So then Parzival has this little, like, he gets into a little tiff with his aunt. He lives with his aunt and her boyfriend because his parents died, and he used her gloves, and then the idiot boyfriend, like, died in the game and lost all their money. But at this point, he just buys a boot suit, which is like, it's like a haptic suit that lets you feel stuff that's happening in the game. So he puts that on, and then he meets Artemis in game and takes her on a date to some planet that's like a party planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think at this point they still haven't gone to. Oh no, I think before this he takes her to the archives again, and they are looking for the next key, and they find out that the next clue is probably because the guy Halliday took a girl on a date, and the guy Ogden Morrow ended up marrying the girl. So Halliday's biggest regret is never kissing this girl. So they take her on a date to a place based on where they think that he would have taken her to a day 2 or something. I don't know. It was convoluted. And he dresses up as freaking Buckaroo Banzai, which I've never even seen.
I had never seen either, and I didn't get that reference. And then I looked up the movie, and I actually kind of want to see it now, but I had never even heard. I
also thought that was just like the lamest thing he did in the entire movie, like putting on a costume from a movie like that.
That really bothered me.
That was stupid.
But we'll get in. Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah. So he meets up with Artemis, and while he's there, IROC is tracking them, and they think that they're supposed to like take a leap, but this ends up not being the clue. And then IOI sends their goons in there to attack, and they're just idiots. But so basically, they're getting ready. They attack, and they have Artemis and Z on the ropes. They call him Z sometimes, and he uses the Zemeckis cube, which is named after Robert Zemeckis, who made Back to the Future, and the entire thing is that it literally reverses the last 60 seconds of time. So he uses that, and then they get out of there, which was pretty good. And
yeah, I like that.
Then I think they go back to the archives one more time, and they find out that he took the girl on a date to go see The Shining, or he said they watched a movie and it was The Shining, and then they realize they have to go into The Shining, and that's where the next key is. So they actually round up their crew at this point, which is Artemis H, and then there's 2 other guys. What was it, Daito and Sho?
I can't remember. Sho and yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, they're like 2 ninja guys. And they take them into The Shining, and then they have to like kind of go through The Shining, which at first it's like The Shining, and then it kind of devolves into like this horror madness thing. And then they go into this room, and there's like these zombies dancing with this girl, and they figure out that they actually have to kiss the girl, basically. That's like taking the leap to get the key, or dance with her. It's one of the 2.
Yeah.
So after they do that, they both have 2 keys, and then I think this is when they also my synopsis is getting tough here. Z accidentally told Artemis his real name, and then IROC uses this to figure out his real name, and so then he has him meet IOI has Parzival come to their office and talk to them. I think he does it through the Oasis, though.
Yeah.
Because they basically want to convince him to be on their team, but he says no. And while he's there, he sees Nolan Sorrento has his password written down on his setup, so he memorizes that. And then IOI attacks.
Stupid move to have your password written on your chair like that.
Yeah, I guess the joke was he's like this old, out of touch guy.
Yeah, where he's like he doesn't really like technology, or like doesn't like nerd stuff.
Yeah,
and,
that is definitely he definitely doesn't seem like he cares. And then while they're doing that, they attack Wade, Parzival's aunt and uncle, kill them with the drone, and then Wade gets kidnapped by Artemis's friend, and it turns out that there's like a real life resistance. And they're also like she lives just down the street from him, which is just some coincidence, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both live in Columbus of all the places they could live. Anyway, they go back and there's like a whole bunch of people, and they have like armed resistance against IOI. And so he meets Artemis in real life, whose name is Samantha. And there, I think, what do they do after that? Oh yeah, then they get attacked while they're there, and they kidnap Samantha, but Wade gets away. And then this is where I think that IOI has figured out where the last key is. It's on this planet, and basically there's like an old Atari set up there, and they just play every game, and every time you fail or whatever, or you beat it, you just fall through the ice. And so they're playing like every game ever made for Atari 2600. So then Wade goes back into the Oasis. This is a long movie. I'm struggling here a little bit.
Yeah, man. Then they just he gets an army together and they attack.
Yeah. Well, he breaks Samantha out, and then she. I know they trick Sorrento into releasing Samantha. Samantha breaks out, goes in there. They basically he goes in there. Parzival goes back and makes a speech about how they need to save the Oasis, and he rounds up this massive army filled with every reference you can imagine, like Tracer from Overwatch, Batman, the Iron Giant. H brings the Iron Giant, and they attack. And then he has Artemis sneak into Sorrento's room, log into his rig, and get the password to shut down the magical shield. So then this big army attacks, and Wade gets up there. Wade makes it to the Atari, and it's him, IROC, and Nolan Sorrento. And Sorrento uses a bomb that kills every single player on the planet. But it turns out that Wade had an extra life, which he won from the curator earlier on a bet. So then Wade plays Adventure, which he figures out that the Easter egg is that there is an Easter egg in Adventure, and it was the first Easter egg ever. And you don't get it by beating the game, you just get it by playing. So he does that, and then Anorak, who is James Halliday's character's avatar, comes up to him and is like, "You won, congratulations." Wait, there's one more test. He has to not sign the document. He has to actually decline that. And then he goes into Halliday's room, and it turns out Halliday probably uploaded his consciousness into the Oasis or something. And he goes in there and is like, "You're the king of the Oasis now, and here's the big red button if you ever want to turn it off, delete everything." And then he gives him control. And then after that, throughout the entire time, he's actually met up with everybody in the real world, including H and Daito and Sho. And they were getting chased around Columbus by Sorrento and his crony, but they end up getting saved by the police. And then Ogden Morrow shows up and signs over the Oasis to Parzival and his friends, and that's basically it. After that, he decides that they need to shut the Oasis down on Tuesdays and Thursdays so people will actually live their real lives.
Yep, that's all she wrote.
Yeah, this was a long movie.
It's a very long movie. So, all right, Dave, you want to do? There's a lot to do here. Do you want to get into just initial did you like it? Not like it?
Yeah, let's just brush the surface first, I guess.
Yeah. What'd you think?
I liked it overall, but not very much. Mostly my main problem is that it went on for too long. I think that the ending was really dragged out. And I also didn't like, first of all, some of the characters had zero development whatsoever. And it was the world outside the Oasis wasn't terribly interesting, but mostly it was the whole movie was about Easter eggs, and it was they put all these references into the movie that you couldn't possibly catch watching the movie, because it was there was all these shots, wide shots of all these characters, and it's the entire shot might be full of references, but you can't catch any of it because it's it's there for a second and it's gone.
Yeah, and then it's gone, which part of me thinks is kind of interesting because it's not overly highlighting it, but it also makes it harder. It almost makes it you got to buy the Blu-ray and pause it on these scenes to catch everything. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. But I don't know, man. I was really not crazy about it. It was borderline hated it for me, but not quite. I wouldn't quite say I hated it. It just, and part of that. Part of it is and I know this is I feel like it's the cheap thing to say, so I'm not even going to attack the movie for its references, but I will say part of it is just that this type of referential movie based on especially 80s nostalgia, it's just not for me. I'm not going to say it's necessarily bad, because clearly that's the big thing right now with Stranger Things and all kinds of stuff. So who am I to pass judgment and say that that's bad? But it's just not for me. I don't know. I just always get kind of annoyed when that's the centerpiece of a movie or a TV show, and it just makes me, I don't know. I don't want to say makes me sick, but it just, I'm not crazy about it. But that wasn't even really the biggest thing I didn't like about the movie. And I thought some of the references were kind of interesting. I like visually, I just thought this movie was ugly. I expected this movie to blow me away visually, and it really didn't. And maybe that's just my personal taste in visuals and cinematography, but everything just looked washed out to me. I didn't like the look of the Oasis. I didn't like the look of most of the action sequences, and it just visually did not appeal to me. I didn't like the look of the main character in the Oasis. I thought he looked stupid, and I just was not crazy about the look of it in general. So that was my biggest thing. And my other biggest problem is it just doesn't feel like a movie Steven Spielberg should be directing. I feel like this movie needed, because when Spielberg directs, one of the things he does is like he gets sentimental, and sometimes it's amazing, and I'm not knocking Spielberg, but this just does not feel like a movie that caters to Steven Spielberg's strengths. Like this movie, there's just so much to get into. Like, I didn't laugh once during this movie, and there were a lot of attempts at humor.
Man, that's funny, because I actually thought the guy IROC was amazing. I laughed almost everything he did.
I could not stand that character. And I think part of it is because I thought he was the voice of Rick, and I was just like, I don't know, the voice just does not go along with this guy. Maybe that was part of the joke, but I don't know. I just did not care for that character. I did not find it funny, and it just felt, there were parts of it that were just way too earnest for me, and it just didn't feel like it fit this movie in general. Like, I feel like if somebody like Paul Verhoeven, like who did Starship Troopers, like I feel like he would have made this movie really biting and satirical and funny, and I don't know, I just didn't feel like this movie fit Spielberg as a director, and even visually I didn't find it impressive. So those were my biggest issues with it. And then other than that, I just thought the story was really formulaic, and I actually kind of like the main two characters. They just weren't developed enough for me to really care about them, but I like both of those actors. I had never seen that main guy before, but I actually kind of liked him. And the girl I had seen in Bates Motel, and I thought she was pretty good. So I don't know, man. We can get into all the specifics, but overall, I was not a fan at all.
Yeah, going back to what you said about like the satire, like I thought it was kind of interesting and something I didn't like. This movie kind of like, especially near the end, seemed like it kind of like a very condescending view of people. Like there was the one scene where they were all like in the street in the Oasis and made them look ridiculous. And
yeah,
the guy was like, well, reality is the only thing that's real. Like it was kind of like talking down to people that would do this. And it's like,
yeah,
but I didn't agree with that, because it's like there's nothing in real life that could ever be as good as like Minecraft World, which is one of the
no,
that's the thing. Like it's like it had like the it had this tone like you can't waste your life in here, and that's true. But there's nothing in real life that could ever possibly match up to like having Batman carry you up to Mount Everest. I mean, that's just
and
it never can be.
And
as good as that.
I don't blame the people for. I mean, if Oasis was real, hell, I'd be in there all the time. I mean, I certainly don't blame the people for doing it. It just felt like this movie needed. I don't know. Like I don't want to say Steven Spielberg is out of touch, but it just felt like it needed a different voice at the helm, because too much of it just felt so like sentimental and earnest, and I just feel like it could have. I don't even know exactly what the biting satire would be, but it felt like it just could have been a lot funnier and like more interesting. And I don't necessarily have the answers to how, but it just didn't feel like Spielberg was the right director for this, because he's known for like his sentiment and like being earnest in his movies. And it just, to me, that did not match up with the material here, in my opinion. I just did not find it fitting. And I just feel like I also thought the main, like, I don't know if I'm missing something, but it didn't feel like it was joking about it, but I mean, the main plot here is this guy Holiday who, I mean, obviously he's a great innovator and, did tons of things, but he kind of seems like a douche in a lot of ways. And like, he's so glorified and lionized that literally all these people in this world, like, follow, his every, watch the daily minutia of his life. And that's just presented like, in a good way. It's like not like I feel like that could have been an opportunity to be.
I thought it was not presented necessarily in a good way.
I don't know. I didn't get that it was negative because at the end of the movie, it's, the holidays, I feel like, presented in a really like good light, and it just felt strange to me. I don't know.
See, I think that at that point he was presented like almost like he had redeemed himself, but throughout the movie, like when they talk about all the crap he's done in his life, like they make him out to be like a villain almost. Like, like you said, he was very full of himself. He screwed that guy Ogden Morrow out of the Oasis, and like, they don't really, none of the characters, they all kind of like I don't know, empathize with him, like, okay, yeah, he screwed this guy over and he regrets it. But I feel like the movie itself, maybe that's just what I got from it, it didn't make him look out to be like a great guy. And I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but I don't feel like it was glorifying him. Like the characters glorified him, but I think the movie itself didn't necessarily.
Yeah, I think maybe I just saw it differently because it seemed to me like the main guy was like the biggest Holiday fan, and the main guy is obviously a likable character. Like, he's presented in a positive light, and he was obsessed with this Holiday guy figure and would watch tons of videos of the daily minutia of that guy's life, and it just feels like it never. I don't want to say he's never held accountable for that, but because everybody in that world is to some degree obsessed with Holiday, and I never feel like it subverted that. It always felt like it just played that kind of straight. And at the end of the movie, the Wade Watts wins because he knew the most about Holiday. And even the last scene with Holiday is presented in kind of this like, I felt like it was a sentimental scene where Holiday is walking off into the sunset, and it almost felt like Willy Wonka or something, where it's like his biggest fan. He got the golden ticket, and he figured everything out, and like he's the good guy, and it just felt weird. I don't know. I
think Willy Wonka is presented as an egomaniac too, to be honest.
Yeah, he is, and it's just, I don't know. This movie just wasn't. To me, it didn't do anything to subvert that enough, and it just felt weird that this main guy, this Holiday guy, was being portrayed this way. And I know he did some shitty things, and that's another thing. It's like he clearly wasn't a perfect person, but the main character clearly loves him and is obsessed with him and knows the most about him, and is in the end completely rewarded for that knowledge, and it's not with no negative consequence, and that just seems kind of weird to me.
That's the thing, though. It's like he's obsessed with him, but I don't know that he really. It's weird because it's like he's almost like a messiah, but he's also not really worshipped like one. It's like they're only obsessed with him because they want to win control of the Oasis, not because they like. Yeah. They don't like worship the ground he walks on because of who he is, just because they want what he has, almost.
I guess that's true, because the prize of the Oasis is whatever $1 trillion and control of the company and all that, but. And I understand, and it just felt kind of schmaltzy. That's like, oh, I'm gonna do the, like, that's another thing. I didn't write down any of the lines, but some of these lines were just so on the nose and brutal to me. Like, I don't, that scene where he like kisses the main girl at the end, and he's like, I'm not gonna do what Holiday did, and then just kisses her. Like, there were too many of those kind of lines for me. Where again, it's like, it just felt like Spielberg was showing his sentimental side. It just did not work for me with these characters or in this setting. It just felt weird, and I just made so many lines in this movie just made me roll my eyes that I don't know. It just did not work for me.
Man, also going back to the satire kind of thing, I was kind of surprised you didn't like the guy IROC more, because that was by far my favorite character. Because for me, he was obviously like the ultimate, like, kind of like hardcore power player that will just like
he's like the guy who gets the invest. I did like the scene where he's killed and all his loot kind of like, that was amazing.
He's trying to raise like, I got 10 years worth of shit here, man. Like he perfectly epitomized like the power player that will like cheat and exploit to win the game. And I just thought he was hilarious.
I don't know. I gotta be honest. It's the voice I think that threw me. I just could not get out of my head that I really would have like bet money that was Rick from Rick and Morty doing the voice, and it just, I don't know. It just threw me the whole movie. Maybe if I watched it again, I would like that character more, but I don't know. I just was not, and I get it. It's like part of it I feel like is he didn't have like this, really imposing voice because he is just a guy on the other side of the line. He's not actually
he's just some nerd.
He's just some nerd. So I guess it does make sense that he had that voice, but I don't know. It just ended up bothering me more than I liked it. And Ben Mendelsohn, I was not crazy about in this. I don't even know about his performance. I just didn't really like his character. I thought he was just a really generic villain, and I feel like Ben Mendelsohn is kind of being cast in that we just need a villain character. Let's throw him in there. And I just didn't find his character particularly interesting. And I feel like they focused on him too much. Like he was too big a part of the movie, and I just did not care about what he was doing really. And I just found him kind of annoying. And he was in it way too much. Like there were a lot of scenes that were just devoted to him in his little avatar doing stuff and, you know, him talking about stuff. And I just did not care at all during those scenes. And I wanted less of him in the movie. I don't know. I felt like they just focused on him too much.
Yeah, you know, going back to that, I think Ben Mendelsohn is majorly being typecast as a villain currently, and I thought his character
is.
Like, really, it was almost like his motivation for what he was doing wasn't all that convincing, because it's like, I don't know, the idea that this corporation would spend all this money trying to win a game, like, but not only that, but it just, I don't know, he wasn't that menacing, he wasn't really... he wasn't interesting, and I mean, his performance
he really wasn't.
Character.
No, it wasn't. And I feel like it just was kind of a lame concept. Like, oh, you know, this guy's just the corporate suit trying to, you know, do things with, you know, trying to win the game with his money and his cutthroat ability. And here we have Wade Watts, who's the hopeful young kid with, you know, who's not playing by the rules. And it just was, I don't know, it just didn't. I didn't love it.
I mean, I really didn't like the villain. And not only that, but the real world peril didn't feel convincing at all.
No, not at all. I didn't really buy any of that, and all that side scene with that his like lieutenant girl that like, every time it cut back to what she was doing, hunting down the van, I just didn't care at all, and it was
that entire van chase sequence didn't need to happen.
No, it didn't need to happen. It was and you knew what was going to happen in the end. I was like, let's just forget this van sequence. Like, just get to him finding the last key or, you know, plugging it into the keyhole. Like, I don't need this unnecessary drama here.
Yeah, I mean, really, like, at the end, I was like, this movie it needs to be over already. Like, we don't need, like, this extra added 5 minutes of drama because we know what's going to happen. Like, there's, like, the whole confrontation with him at the stacks did not need to happen at all.
No, not at all. And to me, there were just too many eye-rolling moments for me. Even like when he finds Artemis in the real world, and he's like, and it just felt so cliche and cheesy. Like oh, you know, I've got this birthmark, but
yeah, that made me so mad. Like, oh god, that was a birthmark. Like,
yeah, and it's like it's played so straight though. Like it's played like. That's a big deal for, you know, like that's a big thing, but really she's obviously a really attractive girl.
Yeah, like this
girl.
10 out of 10 has a birthmark that probably is going to like get her more attention, not less.
Yeah, exactly. And it's played as if that has held her back her whole life or something. And, you know, Wade Watts is just able to look past that. I think it would have been great if Artemis turned out to be like a 300-year-old fat or 300-pound fat guy. Like, yeah. Hey, how you doing? What's going on, Z? You still want to be my friend?
Or like a 90-year-old grandma or something.
Yeah.
Did that joke, but they only did it with the character that didn't matter, the H character.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, I think, and it's like, of course, Artemis is, you know, a conventionally attractive, you know,
of course.
It just, that moment just made me roll my eyes, and I don't know. It just had a lot of those moments for me where I was just kind of groaning. But I'm trying to think of thing. I didn't really find the score particularly memorable either. I couldn't even think of it if I had to.
I'll tell you which part I really liked was right before he uses the Artemis cube. It starts playing the Back to the Future theme. That was really good.
Yeah, that was cool. There were definitely moments that I enjoyed. Like, it wasn't like I hated the whole thing. Like, but it just felt like I hated the big things in the movie, and there were some like little things that I appreciated. Like I thought all the weapons were cool. Like the holy hand grenade, using that was neat. I did think the dance club sequence was pretty cool overall. I think that's probably the only entire scene that I really like. I thought the first race sequence was kind of cool too.
Yeah, it was a little hard to tell what was going on for me, but I feel like that was a well done sequence.
Yeah, I was engaged. And just, I don't know, some of the music, I liked some of the music choices. Other ones, I was just like, okay, he's literally just cycling through the 80s playlist here.
Really.
Like, it just felt like, okay, what are all the 80s hits? Let me just play all of them. It just was a little gross to me. I did like Jump at the beginning. I was into the first scene with Jump playing. I was like, okay, I can kind of dig this. And it was just really a slow decline from that first scene.
I feel like it started really strong, especially like my favorite part of the Oasis itself was when he first went in and he was like showing all the different areas, like the Minecraft world, the vacation world. I feel like that was the strongest point of the Oasis.
I was into it during that. And even like when the culmination of that scene, when it explained Holiday and it's like the 3 keys are hidden in there, and then Ready Player One came up, I was like, this is kind of cool. Like I was into it. I was into it, and then it just really lost me slowly from there. And I just, for me, it's the last maybe third of the movie I just hated. Like I was bored. I was looking at my phone. I was waiting for it to be over. I would say the first maybe half of the movie I was mildly into.
Yeah, the last probably 30 minutes I hated. And then, you know, the big battle sequence at the end, I at least like the Iron Giant was doing stuff. That was cool. And like the Gundam part was okay.
I thought the Gundam was cool. I still thought it was like, okay, naturally the Asian characters want to be the Gundam. But that was like, I saw that coming. But the Gundam itself was kind of cool. And I mean, there were certain times where I couldn't help it. If it was a reference that I liked, it was a little bit more interested. Like I used to watch Gundam. Like I was like, oh, that's cool. But it just kind of quickly faded after a minute or two. And I don't know. I think some of the references were cleverly used, but I think a lot of them just felt shoehorned in there and just were.
That's my thing. I think when the references were done well, they worked. Like with the Zemeckis cube. Like I thought that was cool. Like that was a well done.
Yeah,
reference.
I did too.
And then the Iron Giant, I feel like was well done. But then some of them, it was just like they had Tracer from Overwatch. She was in there like 3 times. And it was like I don't know why they kept sticking her in there.
I don't either, and it felt like Tracer felt out of place too. Like I was like, wait, is that Tracer? Because you see her briefly in one scene, and then there's another scene where she's like leading the charge against the castle.
I think she was in the club too. I think she might have been in there 3 times.
Oh, really?
Maybe she was in the club. She's definitely in there twice.
Yeah, and I was just like, I don't know, it just feels out of place.
Definitely was a big mishmash of references.
Yeah, but it also felt like, and I guess it just was annoying to me. Particularly 80s nostalgia annoys me because I want to see like other things. And this is the year 2045. Like show me some other games that are either out right now besides Overwatch, and like maybe even games that we didn't even know yet that, you know, show some of those too. Like it just felt like it was all 80s, and I get it, or mostly 80s. And I get it. It's because what's his name? Holiday was, you know, growing up in the 80s, but it just felt like such a lame reason to only use or predominantly use 80s stuff. Like even the references, they're like, oh, what high school did Ferris Bueller go to? What's the, you know,
terrible.
16 candles, what, you know, blah blah blah, what high school was that? And then it just felt like there was such a unbalanced use of references with 80s pandering that just really bothered me. And it just felt like, okay, I mean, I guess it's in the book too, obviously, but probably just another reason why, again, it's just not for me, and it's not a book I want to read either.
I mean, it's like, you know, for me, I can appreciate like the 80s. I mean, I love Back to the Future, you know, and it's like, I feel like the wide range of references did work for me, because it's like a lot of people are complaining, because I said, and you know, you're saying it too, like it's like they had references, like they had Halo in there, and then they had like Buckaroo Banzai, so it's like they had such a wide range. It's like it wasn't really targeted at any specific group. It was just like trying to get something in there for everybody. But I kind of think that's okay, because it's like, you know, with a movie with this many references, no one person is going to get everything. So you might as well try to.
I guess for me, it just felt like it was too much 80s, like because Buckaroo Banzai was 80s, and then
I mean it was like mostly 80s, but then they had like Halo, Overwatch. I mean,
yeah,
Batman.
I guess I wish that some of the other references besides 80s had been bigger players in the movie. I feel like the more modern references were just kind of like brief flashes, like you see Master Chief for like a second. Like I wish that something that wasn't 80s was a bigger part in the movie.
Yeah,
it just felt like that's what bothered me the most. Like I feel like if some of the more modern references had been a larger factor in the movie, it wouldn't have bothered me as much. But even like the stupid game at the end they're playing, it's like it's all those 80s.
Yeah.
Like
imagine if they had to play like Halo 2 or something. That would have been much better.
Like that would have been interesting. Like, oh, we got to play. Oh, looks like we got to do, you know, 2v2 on Knockout. Like, you know, like do some modern ones.
Especially since like all the keys, it's like, I guess the book there's like 6 of them. There's only 3 in the movie. It's like, you had The Shining.
Oh, really?
Which we should talk about that scene. You had the Atari, and then you had the race. And it's like, I thought that the keys were going to be a good chance for them to do some interesting stuff, but The Shining was really the only interesting one.
Yeah, I I'm mixed on the Shining sequence because in some ways that was my favorite sequence in the movie, but it also like most of the stuff that I liked in that scene related to The Shining. I wasn't really super crazy about the new ideas that he put in there with the zombie. I mean, the zombie dance scene was kind of cool. I thought that I will give it that, but even the other scenes with the zombies, I was not super crazy about.
I liked it. Basically, I liked how the Shining scene started, and then once they changed it, I didn't like when he was running through the maze getting chased by the axe. Like, I didn't think that was cool.
I hated that. I thought that was.
I thought it should have been played more straight, like just like The Shining.
Yeah, or just show Jack Nicholson chasing them, or
or if they had
like
fought, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, that would have been pretty good. But yeah, that was. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other sequences or other things. What else is there to break into with this?
Well, we got into the whole references thing. I mean, like I said, mainly going back to the references one more time. It really bugged me that like some of the ones like Batman, it's like they were so seldomly used in there. Like the only really prominent one was the old Batmobile in the race, but it's like Batman was in the movie a bunch of times, but it's like all these references, you pack them in there so tightly that you can't catch any of them. It's like, why would you even bother?
Yeah, exactly. And they're gone in a flash. Again, it's like, make a commitment to include some of these other references as bigger parts of the movie instead of just having 80s porn be your nostalgia porn be the focus. Like Batman, the only scene I remember seeing him in was that like little climbing scene or whatever where it's like, oh, you can climb Mount Everest with Batman or whatever.
Yeah, and then they had him in the big fight, they had Batman show up again. But I mean, in that big fight, there's probably 100 references in that big fight that nobody has gotten yet because, you can't catch them all. You have no chance.
No, you don't. And yeah, I just wish that they had chosen one of those more not 80s. Just choose something not 80s and make that a bigger part of the movie. And I think I would have been cooler with it. But again, I obviously a lot of people love this 80s nostalgia wave. So again, it's just my personal taste finds it very annoying.
Well, it also doesn't make sense that the main character born in like 2020 something would be so obsessed with the 80s.
Why is he so upset? He's obsessed with the 80s too. And it's like, even in the trailer, I don't think it was in the movie, but even the trailer, he's like, I wish I was born in the 1980s. And it's just like, oh, just shoot me. Just end my life. Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know if I have too much else to say. Did you like it visually? Did you think it was visually?
I liked it visually at points. I didn't like overall the CGI. Like I didn't like how Parzival or Artemis looked, but I liked it in the beginning. I really thought the Minecraft world shot was great. The race was okay.
That was a cool shot.
A lot of the CGI.
I really liked the vacation land. I wish they had been. I think another thing I would have liked is if they had gone to some of these different worlds, like go to Vacation Land for something.
Exactly.
And,
like they showed all this interesting stuff and then didn't go to any of it.
Yeah, they didn't even go to any of these other lands. It was really just, and the land they chose to spend the most time on, I thought was pretty lame. Just like the Mustafar land or whatever it was.
The one at the end.
Yeah, the last one. I was just like, okay, this is like a very. Of course, they're going to end up on the demonic looking planet or what the lava place. That's going to be the final battle. And
yeah, it's like
just kind of boring to me.
They showed like the party planet, the vacation world, like all those places. I feel like they should have spent a lot more time at. And just like in like the in-game shop, I would have liked to see more than that, but we only got that for a minute.
I think I would have liked to have seen more of how the Oasis works. Like even just like not related to the keys, like maybe spend less time doing other real world stuff and show me like, even just the procedural elements of how a day goes in the Oasis. I think that would have been a lot cooler. And I mean, I know that you have time limits in terms of the movie, but it just felt, I don't know. I just did not care at all when they skipped to the real world or, they skipped over to Mendelssohn's character. Those moments were just completely uninteresting to me. And I feel like they spent way too much time on that in the movie.
Yeah, that's just going back to the beginning I talked about. Like, I didn't really understand the rules of the Oasis. Like, they explain when you die, you zero out, but it's like, I didn't understand whether like you could attack people in certain places or not, like whether safe zones or like, like where did people spend most of their time?
Yeah, I also don't get like, how does, obviously it seems like coin in game somehow translates to real world value, but that wasn't clearly explained because there was that stupid character that was like her mom's boyfriend or his aunt's boyfriend, who was this, stupid guy who lost everything in game, but it wasn't clear how that really translates from in-game money to real world money. I guess he spent all of his real world money to get these perks in game, but I don't know how, like, he was also saying he was chasing some artifact. So it's like, can you somehow trade in that artifact for real world value? It just wasn't clear enough to me.
Yeah, they really should have spent like more time just explaining how the Oasis worked, because I guess in a book you can do that because you have no limit on pages, but the movie, we really didn't get a good look at how the Oasis functioned. That we just saw them chasing the keys.
Yeah, and that was pretty much it. And I also felt like it was just funny that it took so long that to find that first key, and then pretty much after that it was like bam, bam, bam. Like the next keys were easily found.
Yeah, I liked how.
I understand it's because
entire team working on that and they couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, that was also annoying. They cut to that team way too much, and especially that one red-haired girl. Like, I don't like that character was strange. They always cut to her as obviously she was like, I guess, a pop culture expert or something, but it was just weird the way they kept cutting to her specifically. And I was like, I don't need to be focused so much on this random IOI character. And it just felt like we need somebody who's going to be like a match for Wade Watts in terms of pop culture knowledge, and we're just going to pick this person.
Yeah, another character with no development whatsoever.
No, none. All right, man, I think I'm about spent. I don't really know what else to get into unless you have any.
Yeah, I think we covered almost all of it, so.
Yeah, what are you going to rate this sucker?
I'm going 6.5 out of 10.
Alrighty, I'm dropping a 3.5 on this bad boy.
Ooh, that's rough.
It was rough, man. I don't know. There were a couple sequences I enjoyed, but there was just too much that I really did not like for me to rate it any higher. I don't know. I was just not crazy about it. I will say it's certainly a more well-made movie than something like Cloverfield Paradox, and that's where ratings are kind of weird, because obviously I'm looking back, I think I gave The Mummy like a 5 out of 10. Like, I would say this is a better, objectively speaking, movie than The Mummy, but for me personally, I just did not enjoy it much at all. So for me, it's a 3.5.
Yeah, I think the highs
for
were
me
high
is something
enough to get it up to a 6.5 for me.
I think if the visuals had been more appealing to me, this could have been a lot better, a lot higher. But I just wasn't even interested in the movie visually. So, if I'm going to see a big budget action blockbuster by Spielberg like this with dystopian worlds and endless possibilities, I want to be blown away visually. And I just did not like the look of it. It looked just too washed out for me. But alrighty, Ready Player One. It is in theaters now. So, alrighty, man. You want to move on to our top 5 list for 2018?
Yeah, let's do it. So I'm just doing mine in no particular order,
I guess.
to be honest.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same. I was trying to like order these out, but I don't even think I can do it. So you just want to go back and forth?
Yeah.
All right. So what's like your 5th one or?
All right. Yeah, I'll kick it off then. So my first one I'll be saying is Roma, which is apparently Alfonso Cuarón, who has done a lot of great movies, is doing a movie, I think, for Netflix.
Oh, man.
About, yeah. It's a Netflix movie, I think, about like a Mexican family in the 70s or something. And there's like no details about it, but anything with his name on it, I'm going to be excited for.
Yeah, that does sound pretty cool. I like Alfonso Cuarón a lot. So, let me see what to pick here. I'm going to go with this movie Under the Silver Lake, which is I can't remember who directs it. I don't have it on hand, but I just saw the trailer for it, and it's an A24 movie, which I like a lot of the stuff they do. And it just looks really visual. Oh, it's actually funny because I hate this freaking movie, I know you hate it even more than I do, but it's the director who did It Follows, which I loathe.
Yeah, I've actually heard about this movie, so I don't want to see it because of It Follows.
I thought actually. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that while I was watching it, but I think the trailer actually looks really good. And I'm not even really a big fan of Andrew Garfield, but I just like the tone of it, and I guess it's kind of pseudo detective story, but it just looks visually really interesting, and it looks cool. So I'm gonna that would probably be in my last spot because I was kind of searching, but Under the Silver Lake. All right, what's your next one?
My next one is The Old Man and the Gun, which is about some guy, I think his name was Forrest Tucker. It's like some guy that broke out of prison 18 times in his life and robbed banks, starring Robert Redford. And I think that could be a really interesting story.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I haven't even heard anything about this one either, so I really want to... Do we have a release date at all, or is it just sometime this year? Or?
I think it just said sometime this year.
Okay, cool. All right, my next one is going to be Hereditary, which is a horror movie coming out, I think, in maybe the summertime or sometime near the summertime. It just looks really interesting. I think the premise is like the grandmother of this family dies, and it's kind of her legacy is felt by all the characters, and I don't know if she sort of comes back as a spirit or something and haunts them, but it looks pretty frightening. I gotta say, I watched the trailer and I'm really excited to see it. It looks really well shot, and there's just some interesting looking characters in it, and I'm pretty excited for it.
All right. My next is You Were Never Really Here.
What else you got?
Have you heard of this one?
I was thinking about. I have. I was thinking about putting it on there. I just didn't quite make it, but is it out now?
I think it's already been out.
Or it's like I think it might be in a.
But I'm not sure if it's out wide yet.
We should review this if it comes wide.
I mean, this movie is getting an unbelievable
I do want
amount
to see
of
it.
hype. So
yeah, I do like when Joaquin Phoenix is not being a beard guy in his little jokey world. I think he's really, really good. Like he's amazing in The Master. So yeah, I want to see that. What is next for me? Next for me, I'll say this movie, The Beach Bum. Have you heard about this at all?
no.
It's Matthew McConaughey and Zac Efron, but it's Harmony Korine is directing it, who did Spring Breakers. So I don't know. I haven't seen a trailer or anything, but I'm just really interested to see what this is going to be, because I can't even imagine the kind of shenanigans they're going to get up to. But that's my number 3, just based on who's in it and the director.
Yeah, I mean, Harmony Korine, I'm always down for it whatever he's doing at this point after Spring Breakers.
Yeah, I'm always excited to see what he's up to. All right, what else you got?
So my next is Mission Impossible Fallout, which I wasn't even going to put it on here, but I couldn't really think of 5, so.
Yeah, that's another one I was thinking about putting on. It looks pretty cool. And I liked, what was the last one? Rogue Nation was the last one?
Rogue Nation. Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that.
I mean, I think it could be
I have First Man. Yeah, I think it should be good. First Man is my next one. That's, I think it's a biopic about a biopic about Neil Armstrong, but it's starring Ryan Gosling and Damien Chazelle, who did La La Land. So I don't know. I'm in on that one just based on the cast. So plus the space, the idea of space shots just intrigues me. So it's got the Gaz in it, so I'm in.
Yeah, actually, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I want to see it. Astronauts, Ryan Gosling, Damien Chazelle. I want to see it.
All right, so I guess my last one is Bohemian Rhapsody, which I have a feeling it's not going to be a very good movie, but since it's about Queen, I'm really intrigued because I really love Queen. So,
I love Queen too, and I think I actually can't remember what my last one was, so I'm going to put that on there as mine as well because I love Queen, and even if as long as the movie is halfway decent, I just want to see Queen songs on screen.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
I will say that how do you pronounce his name? Rami Malek.
Something. Yeah, like that.
He looks like Freddie Mercury, so or like something. Yeah, he looks pretty close with the mustache and everything. So I'm in.
Yeah, I'm disappointed.
I'll put that on there as my last one too because I can't remember.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Oh man, he would have been perfect. I forgot that he was like initially attached to it because he would have been amazing. Like he looks even more like him than Rami Malek
he was
does.
Perfect
like he would have been amazing. And I think he can sing too because I mean he did that. I hated the movie, but he did that Les Miserables, which he was good in, and so that would have been pretty fantastic. So
Yeah, that's
all right. Those are
disappointing.
our top 5 movie lists. It's looking like a pretty barren year for movies. So I'm hoping that there's some stuff that just is kind of flying under the radar that I haven't heard about yet. But let's hope that some good stuff comes out. All righty, man. You want to put a bow on this thing? Alrighty, guys. Thanks for joining us. That is it for this episode. Join us next time. We'll be doing, I don't know what we'll be reviewing yet, so just make sure to listen in. It'll be soon. And as always, follow us on Facebook at the Serious Film Critics, on Twitter as Serious_Critics, and make sure to send us emails to seriousfilmcritics@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. So, all right, guys, take it easy. Until next time, we're out.